Friends, now we will move certainly to the question and answers. I request all the panelists. So we have received some questions. Maybe to start with the question to ma'am. The question is from how does, ma'am, it is the question is to you. How does one achieve equilibrium in terms of managing expectations of management on the one hand and board on the other? Query to both you and Mr. Chitle. So I will repeat the question: how to achieve the equilibrium between managing expectations and board? So how to achieve this equilibrium?
Yeah, I would say that that is not the job definition of a CS. I think it is how to do the best for the institution. The minute you put the institution at the center, then these divisions disappear, and you have only one thing: what is good for the institution, and that's really, I think, the way it goes. The minute you try and be a mediator between conflicting expectations, as we say in strategy as well, it's focus on the customer, not the competitor. So the customer in this case is the institution. That would be my take.
Okay. Chitali Saab, your view, please, on this question: how to achieve equilibrium between? Yeah.
See, normally this issue arises when information doesn't come on its own. By and large, a company secretary department would know what kind of information should be available. So as long as they are able to give that information on their own, this issue does not come up. It's only when they don't bring it forward, this issue comes up. So I think their skill lies in bringing out as much as they can and then show their inability to bring it out because the management somehow is not willing to give it. Yes, but I think that's where the spine comes into the picture.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Rightly said, the information asymmetry is the problem, the root cause of the problems, I guess. Yeah. Ma'am, one more question to you. Thank you, sir. One more question to you from Mr. Mahadevan. Whether evaluation should be done for all KMPs or only for CS? Not only for CS. The question is that whether evaluation should be for KMP and not only for CS. That is what he's asking the question. I think the question is.
I think many KMPs we do if they're board level KMPs, we do evaluation of. But I think the CS in particular, because the CS is the pivot between many different roles. So if we're doing a board evaluation, then the secretarial function evaluation and the board should also be done. So I think not so much from a KMP. I think it's the evaluation of the function, not of the person. It's the evaluation of how that function is being performed, which is what we do in board evaluation. Right? We evaluate the ability of the collective entity. We also evaluate individuals, but it's of the system of the function. That's really what I meant, not the person so much.
Chitali sir, what is your view actually on this question? The question is that whether the evaluation should be for KMP and not only for the company secretary. That is the.
See, actually, whether we like it or not, the people around us always keep on evaluating you. It's only a question of bringing it on the record. And therefore, quote or unquote, everybody around us keeps on evaluating us. And I think that does happen all the time. And therefore, evaluation, I would say, is essential for all functions, not only for one function. And the earlier we start doing it, it is always better in the long run.
Great, sir. Great. Wonderful, man. Another question is that from Akansha Parmar, can chairman put time limit on agenda items to be discussed? So that is the question. Maybe Mr. Parvati sir, if you are there, can you please answer this question? Can chairman put time limit on agenda items to be discussed?
Sure.
I guess each board finds its own equilibrium, and I think each board knows what's going to be the duration of the meeting, what's been the past practice of discussing a particular agenda item, and what's the collective intelligence that it has. I don't think any good chairman would hardcode a time if a particular director or few directors would want more time. Often what happens is directors who seek more information or may want to understand something more may on their own actually voluntarily suggest that they will offline discuss this with the management and probably either get convinced or bring it up in the next board meeting. So I don't see this becoming a contentious issue. I think it gets resolved very amicably.
Oh, great. Rightly put out, sir. Equilibrium differs from markets to markets. correct, and depends on the demand and supply equations, because everywhere board to board, every board is different. I think rightly put it out. One more question actually from Manoj Kaul. Mr. Manoj Kaul, as an independent director, are you comfortable if your performance is evaluated by asking specific questions like what were the major decisions that contributed to company's business and what decision went wrong? The question is that whether evaluation can be done by asking specific questions like this: what is your contribution and what went wrong? Ma'am, can you please respond to this question?
Okay, in my view, the board is a collective entity, which is why when people ask me about differential amounts of differential responsibilities or payments for different people in the board, I say, hey, listen, the board is a collective entity. Some people perform some roles, some people perform others. So it's like asking a management team, which one of you in the acquisition actually did more for the decision? I mean, I think it's for the acquisition decision to make it a success. I think you can ask, did the board collectively screw up on this? Was it an error of judgment? Where was the error of judgment? Or was it done with the best judgment call that happened to go wrong? I think this kind of soul searching is entirely appropriate, and I think most good boards do it. But I think to ask individually what you contributed, both in management teams and in boards, doesn't make sense.
Yes, rightly said. Chitali Saab, what is your view on this? On this question, whether we can ask specific questions to independent directors?
In fact, that reminded me that a few years ago, some other regulator had a rule that at the end of a board meeting, the independent directors had to write their individual views to the regulators about saying what are their views. I think this should be a non-existent situation. Once the board meeting is over, it's the view of the decision of the board and not of one member. So it's a collective decision making. Whether all factors have been properly considered or not, whether you could make your own factor, and whether you could convince others that your point is right. I think that's more important. There is no single person who makes a decision in a board.
Rightly said, sir. It's a collective actually decision made after the board, after wide deliberations. Rightly said. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Now another question. So while this maybe Dr. Narasimhan can answer this question, while recording meetings, do we really need to mention that the agenda have been sent 7 days in advance? Dr. Narasimhan?
Yeah, I think it's coming out of these one of secretarial standard notes has been created by Institute of Company Secretaries of India, but it is expected that if agenda notes is circulated well in time and all are there, it's a more a formality that company secretaries have brought into existence at the instance of secretarial standards board recommendation. It doesn't make much sense because there quite possibly there are some topics which have been brought on the table at the time of discussion, and maybe what is written in the notes may not have been discussed, something you might have discussed. Therefore, it is more a clerical activity in the board of minutes, but not really contributing to anything. It doesn't make sense.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Another question, actually, maybe what can be captured in giving the outcome of board evaluation report? Actually, what can be how it can be captured in giving the outcome of evaluation in the board report? Maybe Mr. Parvati sir, you can respond to this question. I will just repeat. Yeah, you got the question, or shall I repeat?
I got the question, but I'm also sitting with two eminent independent directors.
Okay.
I think, like I mentioned to you, an evaluation exercise is not a pass-fail. I mean, like Mrs. Japurkar said, I'm a kid in front of her. When she joined the board of Infosys, I just started my career. So, at the end of the day, these are people who are so eminent that it's not about pass-fail. It's just that as a collective entity, are we able to fulfill our legal and fiduciary duties and create sustainable value to the investors? As long as that's kind of, it should be a constructive exercise rather than pinpointing defects in any one personality. Because you wouldn't get to some good boards if you are not a leader. It is a given that you have achieved enormous success, both material and otherwise, in both personal and professional life, and hence you sit as a director. So it's just not a pass-fail. It's just that the 8 of us or 10 of us sitting on the board collectively, are we able to navigate this entity or organization of the institution the way it needs to be navigated? I think that's about it.
Yes, rightly put out. Ma'am, you would like to add something?
Yeah, I just want to say that what we try and do on many of our boards is to just answer somehow or the other questions of what do we as a board do badly, what do we do well, what are we not doing that we should do, and that's always an uncomfortable question. Succession usually figures in there, CEO evaluation figures in there, but it's helpful. And we also ask the question, what are we doing too much of that we shouldn't be doing? And that's usually we find in our comfort zone where the board collectively has to get kicked out of that. And Parvathisam, that was my first board too. So it was your first CS stint and my first listed board. So I think we learned together. Yes, please.
Ma'am, you are very humble, both of you. Actually, I think I mentioned that I admire both of you. So you are so humble despite the years of experience you have on boards. Chitale Saab, a question to you, sir. Can chairman put time limit on the agenda item to be discussed? This question has been raised by Ms. Akansa Parmar. Can chairman put time limit on the agenda item that need to be discussed?
I think this was asked once, but let me come with my things. Normally, if a chairman puts time limit, it is more counterproductive, because psychologically then the others would try and see that not to beat the chairman, but to say something more than that. So ideally for a chairman, it is better to identify the issues which are necessary for making a decision. To the extent the chairman is able to identify the issues very clearly, in fact, the discussion goes in a direction and people are free to add issues, and then it's the chairman's skill, because many times what is not said is more important than what is said. Also, there are many people on the board who like to take more airtime rather than others' time. So I think one has to strike a balance. A chairman cannot, normally by psychology, I would say, putting a time limit and forcing it is more counterproductive in a collective meeting.
Yes, sir. Dr. Narasimhan, what is your view on this? Dr. Narasimhan? Yeah.
You're mute.
You are on mute. Okay, I will move on to the question. One more question, no issues. Sir, one more question to you, Chitale Saab. Yeah, actually, this question is from, again, Akanksha Sharma. The question is, you have spoken about a corporate culture being an intangible asset. In context of that, can you please highlight how can board oversee corporate culture and corporate risk, both?
See, when you look at the decision making of board, by and large, what you find in the minutes is very precise. But if anybody attends the board meeting, one can know what's going around. And as I think initially the ED had explained, the culture is not something which can be evaluated. And I explained it, it's more like electricity.
Correct.
It can be felt,
yes.
and the absence of it also can be felt very easily. To a great extent, it's like also communism, very easy to explain, very difficult to implement. So culture is not something which comes only by our qualifications and experience. It comes by our own well-being. Now, as long as you are conscience keeper to the job that you're doing and to the organization, I think it does come out appropriately. It's a question of explaining it properly in the manner in which you wish to explain it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think we could take one or two questions and then close.
Yeah, I think we are through with all the questions. There is, I think, all the questions. No, we are finished. We have almost finished. If there, so.
That's fine.
Yes. Yeah. We are through with all the questions almost, actually. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the valuable insights, and thank you, ma'am, for sharing your wonderful experience with bringing everything on the table today. I would also like to thank Dr. Narasimhan, who is the brainchild behind this program. So he gave, when we were just thinking about the program, we never thought that this program would be so successful. So all of you brought your wonderful insights on the table. I also would like to thank my team, Ms. Gina Rohit, who worked very hard in ensuring that the program happens. I also thank my IT team, who made it the program happen on wonderful platform. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks. The last but not the least, thanks all the participants for coming and viewing this, and also making it a wonderful deliberation to happen. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks everyone. Thank you, Sidley sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pavali sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.